Hi, Brian from IT here. I just wanted to pop up at the start to reassure you that this is an official Search Your presentation and not something more sinister. If you're watching me now, it means that you clicked on a link in an email that you received, appearing to be a harmless website link. However, that link has triggered this presentation to play, meaning that you've got me instead. Let me hand you over to a friend of mine to explain more. So why am I here? Well, we wanted to put together a short presentation to highlight just how easy it can be to become a victim of ransomware and to hopefully explain a bit more about what it is. Ransomware is predicted to have cost business and homeowners over $1 billion in 2016 alone, and that figure is expected to rise significantly in 2017. Is it just me, or has anyone else noticed the similarity between this guy and the one in the last slide? A coincidence, I'm sure. As you can imagine, this is making ransomware one of the hottest topics in IT at the moment, with the phrase "it's when, not if" being used regarding future widespread infestations. Often the first sign of an infestation is the appearance of a web page similar to this one. The short video that I'm about to play should explain a bit more about ransomware, highlight some of the precautions that you can take to avoid infection, or help with recovery should the worst happen.
The word ransomware is a combination of ransom and software and refers to any kind of malware that demands a ransom from a user in exchange for the return of a kidnapped file. Kidnapped? Ransom? Is this for real? Yes, basically, this threat works just like a kidnapping in real life, except the things held captive are your files, which may be multimedia files, office files, or system files that your computer relies on to work properly. How is it spread? Typical methods are through attachments sent via unsolicited emails, or by clicking on a link in an email that claims to be from a bank or delivery company. They are also distributed through peer-to-peer file sharing networks, being passed on through activation keys for popular software, like Adobe Photoshop and Microsoft Office. What kinds are there? There are two kinds. The first is called a file coder, which encrypts the files. And the second is a lock screen, which locks the computer and stops you using it until you have paid the ransom. This type of threat sometimes employs psychological methods to trick you and pressurize you into paying. In some cases, the lock screen also incorporates a live transmission of what the webcam is currently seeing, which creates a feeling that someone really is watching you. Other times, the message on the lock screen takes the form of a notice from a national police force, which states that the authorities require you to pay a fine because they have found evidence that your computer contains images of child abuse or bestiality, or that you have visited illegal websites or used pirated software. So do you have to pay? We do not recommend paying, for two reasons. Firstly, there is no way to stop the attackers demanding more money from you. And secondly, if you pay the ransom, you are helping create a new market for cybercriminals, which could lead to further ransomware attacks, as well as other types of attacks in the future. Rather than pay, it is better to learn the lesson. Make sure to back up your data regularly so you can recover your files if you are unlucky enough that it happens again. And also make sure to get better protection for your computer. As always, prevention is better than the cure. If you have a good security solution and run frequent backups, you shouldn't have any problems. Keep enjoying everything that technology has to offer you.
So now that we know a bit more about it, let's look at an example of the type of email message that is commonly used to spread ransomware. In this example, the email address of the sender would have been spoofed from information obtained from other online sources and may appear to be from a friend or from a work colleague. The attachment also looks to be a Microsoft Word document, but it is in fact an installation program which, when clicked on, silently installs the ransomware on the PC. Once installed, it may also wait a period of time before it executes, making the initial infection harder to detect. Try to always be vigilant with emails. If you're not expecting an email, and especially if it tries to make you open an attachment or click on a link, then caution is always your best friend. Ransomware can also be distributed via deceiving users into thinking they are browsing to a certain website, but in fact redirecting them to a totally different one. Often the only difference is the website address at the top of the browser window, and sometimes only one or two letters will be different, as you can see from the examples in the slide. The website itself may also look exactly the same as the original, but may have new embedded links that, when selected, will install ransomware on your PC. A recent real-world example of this was that when using Gmail, the logon web page popped up again saying that there had been a connection problem and could you please log on again. A web page that looked just like Gmail's logon page then popped up, and when the users logged in again, their username and passwords were stolen. So how, you might ask, can ransomware affect you? Well, just before Christmas, Searchshore had a ransomware outbreak and it caused the encryption of hundreds of thousands of our files. In most cases, it's impossible to unencrypt these infected files, which luckily we were able to restore from backups. However, if those backups didn't exist, or the ransomware had remained undetected for longer than our current backup retention policy, then all of this data would have been lost forever. Ransomware is just as likely to affect your IT devices at home, and then the most commonly lost data is photos and music stored locally. If appropriate backup solutions are not in place, often people may have to pay to download the music again, and in some cases will have lost years of photos from their digital albums. As we heard in the video, some ransomware can also lock your PCs, tablets or phones, making them unusable. In most cases, the devices cannot be unlocked or even restored from factory defaults. So what can you do to protect yourselves? Firstly, if you're not sure, don't open it. If in doubt, ask a member of the IT team to take a look at it before you do open it. If you accidentally trigger something that looks suspicious, please tell us straight away, as often the greater the time the ransomware has running, the more damage it can cause. If the content, grammar or spelling of an email looks inconsistent with what you would normally expect, please check with the sender before opening. Be wary of embedded website links, as their true destination or intentions may often be hidden. One of the greatest methods to stop the spread of ransomware is the use of common sense. If it seems suspect, then it probably is. Finally, make sure you take regular backups to offline storage. Ransomware can easily encrypt backup files too if they are on media still attached to the infected devices. I know this all sounds really tedious and boring, but trust me, the alternatives are much worse. If we all follow these simple guidelines, then hopefully we can continue to enjoy our IT and do our bit towards eradicating this growing threat. I hope this has been helpful and informative, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask one of the IT team. Thank you very much for listening.